Hello, everyone. Welcome to Module C. This is a really important module in this course because this is where everything starts to come together. You're finishing up the research foundation that you're setting up for your upcoming essay, and at the same time, you're kind of starting to learn how arguments actually work in this module. So we're kind of doing two big things at once this week. You're building your research and you're beginning your work with your argument and analysis. So let's walk through it. First, at a high level, your main goal this week is to complete that full annotated bibliography, which is a major writing assignment for this class. This is not just busy work, it's the foundation for your upcoming essay that you present at the end of the semester. If you do this well, your essay later is going to be much easier to write. And I want to pause here for a second and really explain what this assignment is, what it's about, and why it matters. Research is not just finding a couple sources and then calling it a day. It's a process, really. You're searching, you're reading, you're comparing perspectives, you're figuring out what is actually useful for understanding your topic. The annotated bibliography helps you organize all that. Think of it like your research toolkit. You're gathering sources, you're summarizing what they say, and then you're evaluating how useful they are going to be for your project that you're working on for the whole semester. Also, an important reminder, this is a major grade, but it's not an essay. You're not arguing your position yet. That comes later. Right now, your job is just to report on your sources and to evaluate them. Talk about how you're going to use them and how you know they're credible. You're building towards something bigger with this assignment. The more effort you put into this assignment, the easier the rest of the course is going to start to feel to you. Let's talk about what this actually requires that you do. You need a total of 8 sources for this full annotated bibliography that's due this week. You can use your original 2 from the 2 source draft that you turned in at the end of Module B, and then you're adding 6 more. But it's not just about getting 8 random sources. You need a variety of those source types. And those source types need to make sense for your topic and your field. So that includes using things like scholarly articles, books, or reports, trade publications, and then the more general or popular sources like websites, newspaper articles. If you look at the types of sources document that's in the assignment description, it breaks this down really clearly. For example, scholarly sources are written by experts and are usually peer-reviewed, while popular sources are written for like a general audience. Trade publications focus more on industry trends. You want to mix them because each type of source gives you something different. In terms of how the assignment's structured, you're following the same exact process that you use for your 2 source draft. Each of the source has 2 different parts, actually 3 parts. The citation, which comes first, and then 2 paragraphs that follow, a summary and an evaluation. Your summary explains what the source is saying objectively. There's no opinions here, there's no arguing, you're just clearly reporting what's there. Then your evaluation paragraph explains whether the source is credible, talks about how useful it is, and then how you might use it in your project. Again, this is where a lot of the students lose points, so be careful here. You need both parts for every source and make sure that you do only that part in each paragraph. Let me also quickly touch on formatting and expectations. You should be using APA style throughout. That includes a title page and then each of the entries for these sources, a references page style entry, and they should be in alphabetical order with the proper indentation. Make sure you look at the sample documents we've given you. Everything should be clean and organized and consistent. If you check the rubric, you'll see that formatting and source quality, summaries, and evaluations are all graded separately. So even if your ideas are strong, mistakes in formatting or missing pieces can still cost you points. All right, now that we've set that, let's go back to the module assignments. First up, you're going to do C1, which is a plagiarism review. This should feel familiar to you from English 111. The goal here is to make sure that you understand how to use your sources responsibly. That means knowing how to quote, to paraphrase, and to cite them correctly. Before you jump into the assignment itself, I would take some time to actually go through the resources in that folder. Don't just click through it. This is one of those areas where mistakes can have serious consequences later. Once you feel comfortable, go ahead and complete the plagiarism review assignment. Then, the C2 annotated bibliography writing portal assignment. This one's very important and it requires some planning ahead. You're going to submit part of your annotated bibliography to the Jaguar tutoring portal to get feedback from a tutor. Then you're going to use that feedback to improve your final draft. So I would ideally submit the draft at the beginning of the week so you can get that feedback before the end of the week when the final draft is due. And also, you'll need the feedback they give you to write your reflection for this Jaguar portal assignment, the C2 assignment. Here's the key thing. You got to submit that draft to the writing portal at least 48 hours before the due date back to me of the reflection so that you'll have time to get feedback from them. If you wait until the last minute, it will not work. You won't get your feedback in time, and then that will affect your grade. For this assignment, you're going to submit at least 3 things to me. You're going to submit the thing that you submitted to the Jaguar portal assignment. You're going to submit the feedback they gave you, and you're going to submit the marked up draft that they sent you back. If you once you get done with that, you'll get your feedback. You'll submit it to me, that reflection that you'll submit. Sorry, so the third thing you'll submit to me is the reflection you write about how you're going to use that feedback. C3 is the full annotated bibliography draft link. That's where you submit that assignment for that major grade. It needs a total of 8 sources. Remember, make sure you're using the feedback you received, both from your earlier work and from the writing portal. Also, go back and look at your 2-source draft feedback that you'll get. A lot of you lost points, things that were easy to fix. This assignment should be a polished and revised and edited version, not a rough draft, not something that's thrown together at the last minute. Now, once we finish with that, you're going to actually shift next into argument. So looking at the ways that people make arguments. So that starts with the C4 assignment, which is called Arguing to Persuade. In that assignment, you're going to read chapter 11 in the e-text. You're going to go through the resources that are in the folder and complete the SmartBook activity. As you're reading, I want you to pay attention to how arguments are built. Think about this. What's the claim? What kind of evidence are they using to support their claim? How's the writer trying to convince the audience using any types of persuades, logos, pathos, ethos? I want you to remember that you're supposed to be taking notes as you read and as you go. It'll be very useful for you later. Next, you're going to work on the C5 assignment. It's called Critiquing an Argument and Rhetorical Analysis. You're going to be working with chapters 9 and 22, and you're going to start thinking more critically as you do these assignments. Not just what an argument's saying, but how well the person is saying it. You're going to start looking at things like the claims they make, the evidence they use, their credibility, the emotional appeals they use, and then their overall effectiveness. Again, read, take notes, and complete the SmartBook activity. Then you're going to have the last assignment for this week, this module called the C6 APA review. At this point, you've already been working with APA, but this is a refresher to make sure you're doing it correctly. You're going to review things like the references page and in-text citations, and there are also some videos in that folder to help you out with that. This is especially important as you start to move towards your essay because correct citation is a big part of that grade. All right, so we're going to do a quick recap. This week, your focus should be on finishing the full annotated bibliography with the 8 sources. Remember to use the writing portal early. Remember to pay attention to plagiarism and citation, and then start learning how arguments work. It's a busy module, so don't wait until the last minute. Spread your work out across the week, and as always, make sure that everything you submit is your own work. I'm looking for your thinking and your voice. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me. All right, that's it for Module C. Ready to see the hard work that you put forth. Have a good one.